Anglerfish. Down where sunlight never reaches, hunting by sight stops making sense. So this one carries its own light. A thin rod grows out of its forehead, tipped with a glowing lure packed with bioluminescent bacteria. It dangles there in the dark, swaying gently, looking for all the world like a tiny glowing meal. Anything curious enough to swim closer finds out the lure was attached to something much bigger. The anglerfish's mouth can open wide enough to swallow prey nearly its own size, and its teeth angle backward, so once something is in, there's no swimming back out. Each species even glows in its own particular pattern, which turns out to matter. In total darkness, that glow might be the only way two anglerfish of the same species ever recognize each other. Then there's the males. In some species, they're a fraction of the female's size, and they don't hunt at all. A male finds a female, bites into her side, and slowly fuses into her body, sharing her bloodstream and gradually losing nearly everything that made him an independent animal. Eyes, digestive organs, the works, until only his reproductive function is left. Some females carry several of these fused males at once, permanently attached. It sounds extreme because at that depth, extreme is the baseline. Finding a mate even once in that much empty water might be a once-in-a-lifetime event, so evolution stopped leaving it to chance. The lure is just bait. Everything built around it, the backward teeth, the fused mates, the one-shot odds of finding another anglerfish at all down here, is the real design. Giant squid. For most of human history, this was basically a myth with a name attached. Sailors told stories about sea monsters large enough to drag ships under, and for centuries, science had nothing to work with except washed up carcasses and scars on the sides of sperm whales. A living giant squid in its own habitat doing whatever it is giant squids do had never been filmed. That changed in 2012, when a Japanese and American research team finally captured one on camera nearly 1,000 meters down off the coast of Japan. It took years of failed expeditions to get there. The animal itself can stretch past 40 feet, including its two long feeding tentacles, and its eyes are the largest in the animal kingdom, close to the size of a dinner plate. That's not a coincidence. At those depths, most light comes from other animals glowing, and bigger eyes catch fainter flickers of it from farther away. Useful when the thing hunting you is a sperm whale that can weigh 50 tons. Whales carry the evidence. Sucker scars, sometimes lined with hooks, show up on sperm whale skin from squid that clearly didn't go down without a fight. Researchers have pulled thousands of squid beaks out of a single sperm whale's stomach, the one part of a giant squid a whale's digestive system can't break down, and often the only proof an encounter ever happened at all. We still don't know much about how giant squid actually live day to day. Mostly, we know how they die and who's been fighting them on the way down. Vampire squid. Its scientific name translates to vampire squid from hell. Its actual life is a lot less exciting than that. It lives in the oxygen minimum zone, a band of deep water so starved of oxygen that almost nothing can survive there for long, which is exactly why the vampire squid likes it. Barely any predators can follow it in. When it does feel threatened, its defense isn't a bite. It turns itself inside out, flipping a webbed cloak over its body to expose a ring of spiky projections, making itself look far more dangerous than it actually is. If that doesn't work, it doesn't ink like a normal squid. It releases a cloud of sticky, glowing mucus instead, and lights up in short, disorienting flashes while it escapes. Despite the name, it isn't hunting anything. It drifts through the water collecting marine snow, the slow, endless fall of dead plankton and organic debris sinking down from above, and eats that. It's one of the ocean's quiet garbage collectors, not a predator at all. It's also a genuine living fossil. Its lineage split off from other cephalopods so long ago that it isn't quite a squid and isn't quite an octopus. And its basic body plan hasn't changed in an estimated 300 million years. It's older than most dinosaurs, built like something out of a monster movie, and spends its entire life quietly eating trash in the dark. Goblin Shark. Most sharks look built for open water. This one looks built for nightmares, and it's rarely ever seen alive. It lives far deeper than most sharks bother to go, often below 1,000 feet, in water dark enough that its long, flat, blade-like snout matters more than its eyes. That snout is packed with electroreceptors, tiny sensors that pick up the faint electrical signals every living thing gives off, letting it hunt prey it can't actually see. Then there's the jaw. Most of the time it sits tucked against the skull like a normal shark's, but when prey gets close, the goblin shark's entire jaw shoots forward on elastic ligaments, snapping shut around the target before retracting back into place. A slingshot mechanism unlike almost anything else in the ocean. Its color doesn't help the reputation either. The pink, almost translucent skin isn't decoration. It's just thin enough that the blood vessels underneath show straight through, giving the whole animal a raw, unfinished look. Its lineage goes back roughly 125 million years, making it one of the oldest shark families still alive today, virtually unchanged while almost everything around it evolved or went extinct. Fishermen occasionally pull one up from deep water nets, still twitching, jaw already snapping. For a shark that's been around since the dinosaurs, almost nobody has ever actually seen one hunt. Giant isopod. Picture the pill bug from your backyard. Now scale it up to the size of a house cat and drop it onto the sea floor. That's roughly what you're looking at. Giant isopods are deep sea crustaceans, distant relatives of the woodlice curling up under rocks in your garden, except deep sea conditions pushed their size up dramatically. Researchers call it deep sea gigantism, and nobody fully agrees on why it happens. They're scavengers, built to wait. Food on the deep sea floor is unpredictable, sometimes nothing for months, then suddenly a dead whale sinks and lands nearby. When that happens, giant isopods show up and gorge, eating so much so fast that some have been found too bloated to move afterward. If something does try to grab one, it can roll itself into a tight armored ball, the same trick its tiny backyard relatives use, just scaled up to something that can fill your hands. That feast or famine lifestyle gave them an almost absurd tolerance for starvation. One giant isopod at an aquarium in Japan refused every meal offered to it for over 5 years before it finally died. And for most of that time, it showed no obvious signs of distress. Its body had simply slowed everything down to wait out a famine that this time never ended. They're not hunting you, and they're mostly harmless to humans. They're just extremely patiently good at doing nothing until the ocean floor hands them dinner, sometimes years later than expected. Dumbo Octopus. Not everything at the bottom of the ocean is trying to look terrifying. Dumbo octopuses hold the record for living deeper than any other octopus on Earth, some recorded well past 20,000 feet down. Instead of anything threatening, what they've got is a pair of fins on the sides of their mantle that flap gently as they swim, giving them their name and making them look more or less like a cartoon elephant learned to fly underwater. They don't jet around the ocean the way most octopuses do. They hover low and slow just above the sea floor. They use their webbed arms like a soft blanket to settle over small worms and crustaceans hiding in the sediment, then swallow them whole. Down at that depth, an ink cloud is completely useless. There's no light for a predator to be confused by in the first place. So many deep sea octopus species, Dumbo included, never bothered keeping the ink sac that shallow water octopuses rely on. They're slow and soft, about as far from a monster as this list gets, which might be the most unsettling part of the whole ocean floor. Even down where almost nothing needs to be gentle, something still is. Berreleye Fish. For decades, marine biologists knew this fish had strange eyes. They just had no idea how strange, because every specimen they pulled up from the deep arrived with its head crushed by the pressure change. Then, in 2004, a research submersible finally filmed one alive, in place, hundreds of meters down. The fish turned out to have a transparent, fluid-filled dome covering the top of its skull, with two barrel-shaped eyes floating inside it. Those eyes aren't fixed in place either. They can rotate to point straight up through the dome, or swing forward to look ahead, all while staying completely protected inside that clear shield. The upward gaze is the important part. Pointed toward the surface, those eyes are built to catch the faint silhouettes of prey drifting above. Backlit by whatever scraps of light still make it down that far. There's a theory for the dome too. Berreleyes are thought to steal food caught in the stinging tentacles of siphonophores, jellyfish-like colonial predators. That transparent shield may be what keeps their eyes safe from the stings while they help themselves to someone else's catch. It took a century of broken, crushed specimens before anyone actually saw this fish's head working the way it was designed to. It turns out the strangest part of it was never damage. It just looked that way every time we forced it to the surface to check. Mariana Hadal Snailfish. Every creature on this list has been living somewhere unusually deep. This one is the current record holder for deepest fish ever filmed, full stop. It was recorded and later formally described from footage and specimens collected over 8,000 meters down in the Mariana Trench, in water pressure that would crush a submarine not built specifically to survive it. At that depth, the pressure is more than 1,000 times what you feel standing on the beach. Surviving that isn't about being tough, it's about being built completely differently. This fish has no swim bladder at all, because a gas-filled bladder would simply implode under that much pressure. So evolution just removed the option entirely. Its body is soft, almost gelatinous, and its skull bones aren't fully fused together, leaving its head with a soft, unfinished structure that flexes under pressure instead of resisting it. Its eyes are small and mostly useless because there's nothing left to see. No sunlight has ever reached this deep. It hunts by feel, picking off small crustaceans that share the same freezing, lightless trench. Researchers found it using baited traps lowered on cables for hours, dragged back up from a part of the planet more remote in practical terms than the surface of the moon. Every other animal on this list lives somewhere near the bottom of the ocean. This one is the actual bottom, the deepest point on Earth any fish has ever been confirmed to reach.